My fiancé said, "My parents don't approve of you, they think I can do better." I replied, "Then you should." That night, I transferred the lease to her name, canceled her credit card, and moved out while she slept. 1 week later, her whole family was at my doorstep begging me to take her back. When she said it, her voice was steady. Come. Like she wasn't dropping a grenade between us. Like she wasn't tearing down everything we had built with 7 simple words. Asterisk, my parents don't approve of you. They think I can do better. Asterisk. And I looked at her. Really looked at her. Not as the woman I had once dreamed of marrying. Not as the person I had shared meals, holidays, secrets, and a home with. But as a stranger. A stranger who had waited until we were engaged. Until I had given her my whole heart, my future, my name. To reveal that when it came down to it, I wasn't good enough for the people whose approval she actually cared about. I didn't yell. I didn't ask her to reconsider. I didn't fight to keep a seat at a table where I'd never been welcomed. Instead, I gave her exactly what she, and they, wanted. I said, asterisk, then you should. Asterisk. That night, while she slept in the bed we once shared, I got to work. I transferred the lease into her name, a lease that I had originally signed, paid the deposit for, and furnished. I logged into our bank account, canceled the credit card that I had given her under my name. I packed my things piece by piece, loaded them into my car, and drove away before the sun even thought about rising. No note. No goodbye. Just silence. By the time she woke up, I was gone. But the thing is, people like her, they never think you'll actually leave. They expect you to stay, to beg, to prove yourself, to fight harder for scraps of affection and approval that should have been given freely. So when I vanished, clean, fast, quiet, she didn't know how to handle it. But it wasn't just her who couldn't handle it. Because 1 week later, the same parents who thought I wasn't good enough, they were standing on my doorstep, begging me to take her back. We weren't perfect, but I thought we were solid. The kind of couple people looked at and said, they've got it figured out. We'd been together 4 years. Lived together for 2. I proposed on a weekend trip in the mountains, just the 2 of us, snow falling, her favorite song playing on a Bluetooth speaker in my coat pocket. She cried, said yes, held my face in her hands like I was her whole world. And in that moment, I believed I was. We'd talked about everything, wedding venues, kids, where we'd live long-term, how we'd grow old together. I gave her a ring, a home, stability, and more love than I knew I even had in me. I wasn't rich, but I worked hard, built my own business from scratch, paid the rent, handled the bills. She was finishing her master's, working part-time, trying to figure out what she wanted next, and I was patient, supportive. I never once threw it in her face that I carried the financial weight. That's what you do when you love someone. You build. But her parents never liked me. From day one, they saw me as a temporary inconvenience. I didn't come from a fancy family. I wasn't flashy. I didn't network in the same social circles they worshipped. Her father was the kind of man who measured worth by job title and car make. Her mother smiled like every compliment was an insult in disguise. They'd host us for dinner and ask questions that weren't questions. So you're still running that business? Or don't you think she deserves more security? I let it slide over and over. For her. I dressed better, spoke less, tried harder. Every time we left one of those family dinners, she'd say, they'll come around eventually. And I believed her. Because she said she loved me. Because she said she'd always choose me. Until the night she didn't. It wasn't even a fight. No raised voices. No storming out. We were sitting on the couch, watching some reality show she loved. She paused it, turned to me, and said it like she was reciting a script. My parents don't approve of you. They think I can do better. She didn't look angry. Just detached. Like she'd already had this conversation in her head 100 times and finally decided to let it slip. I stared at her, waiting for the follow-up. For her to say, but I told them I don't care. Or, but I love you, and I'm marrying you, not them. But that second part never came. That's when I knew. It wasn't just their opinion anymore. It had become hers too. So I swallowed the lump in my throat, nodded slowly, and said, "Then you should." And the moment I said it, I swear, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Panic. Regret. But it was too late. I stood up, walked into the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and mentally flipped the switch. The one that changes everything. The one that turns love into clarity. By the time she went to bed, I already knew what I was going to do. And it would be the cleanest goodbye she never saw coming. She fell asleep that night like nothing had happened. No tension in her voice, no second thoughts in her eyes. Just a kiss on the cheek, a soft, good night, and then silence. As if she hadn't just gutted our entire relationship with a single sentence. Asterisk, my parents think I can do better. Asterisk. But I didn't sleep. I laid there, staring at the ceiling in the dark, listening to her breathing slowly settle beside me. And I realized something. She didn't love me anymore. Not really. Maybe she loved the idea of me. The convenience. The comfort. But the fight. The loyalty. The kind of love that stands between you and the world when it turns its back? That was gone. So around 2 a.m., I got up. Quietly. I didn't rage-pack my things. I didn't slam drawers. I moved like a man with a mission. Calm, focused, deliberate. First, I logged into the apartment portal and began the lease transfer process. I had added her as a co-tenant 6 months ago at her request. Now I was giving her the place entirely. The rent was manageable for me, but I knew she couldn't afford it alone. Still, I wasn't going to stay somewhere I wasn't respected. Then I logged into our shared bank account. Well, my account. Technically. I had added her as an authorized user to help her with expenses while she was finishing grad school. She had her own card under my name. I canceled it. Not out of revenge, but out of principle. If I was no longer her future, she had no right to spend mine. I packed just the essentials. My clothes, my laptop, documents, chargers. Left behind the couch I bought, the TV I mounted, even the espresso machine I loved, because I wanted no connection left for her to use as leverage or guilt later. I didn't want anything she could claim tied me to her. Not even my scent on the sheets. At 5 a.m., I took one last look around. The apartment was silent. Her figure still buried under the blanket. Peaceful. Oblivious. I left my key on the kitchen counter. By sunrise, I was gone. No note. No message. Just gone. I checked into a furnished sublet across town that I'd reserved while she was asleep. A small place, nothing fancy, but it was mine. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe again. No pressure to perform. No need to prove myself worthy. Just space. She didn't call that morning. Or that afternoon. Maybe she thought I was sulking somewhere, waiting to cool down. Waiting for her to reach out and clarify what she meant. But I wasn't sulking. I was rebuilding. And while she was sipping coffee in our kitchen, assuming everything would go back to normal, I had already deleted her access, changed every password, and wiped my hands clean of a love that never stood up for me. She wouldn't realize it yet. But the man her parents didn't approve of was already gone. She didn't text me the next morning. Not even a, "Hey, where are you?" Or, "Did you leave early for work?" Maybe she thought I was sulking. Maybe she assumed I'd come back with flowers or an apology, like somehow I had been the one who crossed the line. That was always her pattern. Drop a subtle insult, let it land like a brick, and then pretend it never happened the next day. But this time was different. This time, I didn't come back. She finally called around noon. I let it ring. Then she sent a short text. "Where are you? Can we talk?" I didn't respond. I posted a photo instead. Simple, quiet, calculated. It was a cup of coffee resting on the windowsill of my new sublet, sunlight coming through the blinds. The caption read, "Some people wait for clarity. I chose peace. Within minutes, the messages came flooding in. Wait, what is this? Why are you being dramatic? Can we please talk? Still, I said nothing. I let her sit in the silence she created. Meanwhile, her card was declined at the grocery store. I know because I got an email notification about the attempted charge. Out of habit, I hadn't disabled alerts yet. A $43 total, declined. That must have been the moment it really hit her. That this wasn't just a sulk. This was done. By the end of that day, she had tried calling me 5 times. She left 2 voicemails, both full of panic masked as calm. Hey, so I think things maybe got misinterpreted last night. I didn't mean what I said like that. I just meant my parents are hard to please. You know that. I'm sorry if it came out wrong. What she didn't realize was, I'd heard it exactly right the first time. She said what she meant. I just happened to believe her. She went to our apartment complex office to sort out the lease situation and found out everything had already been signed over to her. Fully. Legally. Financially. No more shared anything. She called again, this time furious. You just left? Like that. Yes. Just like that. I'd built that life for us, from scratch. And she chose not to defend it when it mattered. She chose to side with people who treated me like I was disposable. So I showed her how easily I could be. Her friends started messaging me, too. Are you okay? She's really freaking out. Wasn't that kind of harsh? But where were all these voices when her parents called me a step down? When they questioned my every move over family dinners? No one stood up for me then. Now they were all shocked that I'd stood up for myself. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was just done hurting for her. This wasn't petty. It was closure. And for the first time in years, I felt free. It was exactly 7 days after I moved out when I heard the knock. Not a casual tap. Not a friendly, hey, are you home, kind of knock. No, this one had weight, hesitation wrapped in urgency. I opened the door, expecting maybe a neighbor, maybe a delivery. It was her parents. Both of them. Standing there on the front step of my new apartment, looking completely out of place in their polished, upper-middle-class elegance. Her dad in a blazer, her mom clutching her purse like she wasn't sure if she should be furious or apologetic. And right behind them, standing a little back, eyes glassy, arms folded like she was holding herself together by a thread, was her. I didn't say a word. Just raised an eyebrow and waited. Her mom spoke first. Can we talk? She asked. Not rude, not fake nice, just tired. I stepped aside, let them in. They sat on my new couch. The couch she hadn't seen yet. The couch that wasn't ours. Her father was the one who cracked first. I'll admit, he said, clearing his throat, I misjudged you. We both did. Her mother nodded, wringing her hands like she didn't quite know what to do with them. We were unfair. You were always respectful, stable, good to her. We saw someone who didn't match what we imagined for our daughter. And instead of trying to see you, we tried to push you away. There it was. Years of passive-aggressive dinners and judgmental looks finally being acknowledged in one awkward, overdue confession. And she hadn't said a word yet. I turned to her. She looked up, eyes rimmed red. I didn't think you'd actually leave, she whispered. You didn't think I should, I corrected. You just thought I'd stay, no matter what you said. That I'd keep proving myself to people who never saw me as enough. Silence. Then her father stood up, hands in his pockets, shame hanging off his shoulders. We came here because she's been a mess since you left, he said quietly. And because we all, her included, realized we made a mistake. Her mother added, we'd like you to consider giving her another chance. That's when I stood up, too. I walked to the window, looked out at the street below, and let the moment settle. Then I turned back to all 3 of them and said, with no anger, just truth. You were right. Her eyes widened. A flicker of hope. You said she could do better. And now, so can I. I walked to the door and opened it. They got the message. No yelling. No slammed doors. Just the clean, final sound of footsteps retreating. And as I stood there watching them walk away, I didn't feel smug. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. Because when someone shows you what they think you're worth, you don't argue. You show them you know better. I didn't hear from her again after that night. No more texts. No more calls. No more attempts from her family to reach out. It was like they had all finally accepted what I had known for a long time. You don't get to treat someone like they're disposable, then act shocked when they walk away and don't come back. Life, for the first time in years, felt light. I filled my new apartment with my own energy. Got a simple desk near the window where I could work in the mornings. Hung up art I actually liked, not the neutral Pinterest-approved pieces she always insisted on. I started waking up earlier, cooking more, reconnecting with friends who used to tiptoe around our relationship drama. I smiled more, laughed louder. There was no tension in the air, no judgment over what I wore, how I spoke, how I lived. I was myself again, and it was enough. I wasn't in a rush to date again. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just focused on rebuilding everything she'd made me question. My confidence. My peace. My purpose. Funny thing is, people from our old circle kept reaching out. Some of them wanted the real story. Others wanted to tell me she was really hurting, or that she was working on herself. A few even tried to tell me I should talk to her, for closure. But I didn't need closure. Leaving was the closure. Silence was the answer. Peace was the proof. One evening, maybe 2 months after I'd last seen her, I passed by a familiar cafe. One we used to visit every Sunday. She was sitting there alone, staring into her drink. She didn't see me. I didn't stop. I didn't feel anger or nostalgia or anything at all, really. Just distance. And it felt good. Because now, I knew who I was without her. Stronger. Wiser. Lighter. She had said, asterisk, my parents think I can do better. Asterisk. And maybe they were right. She could do better. So could I. And I did.